Over the last century, technology has been expanding and improving at an exponential rate. At the start of the 20th century, electronics were scarcely found in households and computers hadn't even been invented yet. Now, about 100 years later, nearly every US citizen owns a cell phone, and most homes have a computer. Humans have even developed and used unmanned aircrafts. This huge progression may not have occurred as quickly as it has if not for transistors. Transistors have had an immense impact on the rapid innovations that have occurred in technology. It would seem appropriate to explain why humans would even bother building such a device. What circumstances would have brought about its creation? In the case of the transistor, the main reason was profit. During the early 20th century, AT&T began to have trouble competing with rival phone companies as a result of the recent expiration of Alexander Graham Bell's telephone patents. The company was desperate and sought to bring Theodore Vail, its former president, out of retirement. Vail then proposed an idea that would launch them past their competition: transcontinental phone service. AT&T proceeded to follow along with Vail's idea. However, the signals the company's phone service used were too weak to be carried across the ocean. The signals needed to be amplified somehow. AT&T requested the aid of a team of scientists to create something that would amplify the signals. This team consisted of Bill Shockley, Walter Brattain, and John Bardeen. This trio of top-class scientists, each with their own unique skills, were ideal candidates for the transistor's invention. Shockley provided the initial research and ideas for the experiments, while Brattain and Bardeen designed the experiments and built the models. When Shockley's design of the transistor had failed, he assigned Brattain and Bardeen to figure out why. 2 years later, the two of them created a working model of the transistor, called a point-contact transistor. Soon after, Shockley created a superior version of the original, called a bipolar transistor, and proceeded to take most of the credit for the invention.
The transistor was first implicated in a computer by the US military in 1954. Previously, all computers used large vacuum tubes, which proved to be extremely inefficient. The US military hired on a team of engineers from Bell Labs who built the first computer without a vacuum tube. The computer was known as TRADIC, or the Transistorized Digital Computer. The machine was about 3 cubic feet, which was exponentially small compared to the current computers with vacuum tubes, which occupied a size of around 1,000 square feet.
Not only was the computer more portable, but the speeds at which it were able to operate were compatible with that of the vacuum tube. However, the biggest contribution was that the computer only used 100 watts of power to operate. Looking forward, the transistor was a much more viable solution to the vacuum tube. The transistor became exponentially smaller and faster. The transistor commonly used today is microscopic, measuring about 20 nanometers, which is around 50 atoms wide. In your average computer, there's around 1.4 billion transistors hard at work. The transistor's primary job is to control the computer by regulating the flow of electricity through the computer. The transistor acts as a switch, creating pulses of electrons that different components in a computer react to in order to perform specific actions. In more detail, the transistor has 4 major parts that are essential to its operation: the source, drain, gate, and the silicon base. Electrical pulses that hit the gate allow for electrical pulses to move from the source through the silicon base and out of the drain. When there is not an electrical pulse against the gate, then nothing can flow through the silicon base. For example, if you hit the A button on a keyboard, an electrical pulse is sent to a lot of different transistors, which allow a certain number of pulses to be emitted. These pulses are read by the various components of the computer, making the computer interface display an A.
The transistor has gone above and beyond what its initial purpose was, and caused technology to improve at an increasing rate. What started as a simple phone signal amplifier has become the catalyst for innovations that may not have even been conceived a century ago. The effects of the transistor's invention will be felt by all as it continues to bring our vision of the future closer to becoming a reality.